Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 5 of Unfiltered. My name is Dan. Now, before we get into today's topic, I just wanted to take a second to say thank you. This channel was built for one reason, and that's to give Albertans a voice at the grassroots level. And over the past few days, with your shares, your comments, your poll votes, you've shown that our voice is getting louder. Our recent episode, Whose Oil Really, just passed 20,000 views, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for that support. This isn't just my channel, this is our channel. So as always, if something in today's video hits home, make sure you drop a comment or you can shoot me a message at grassrootsalberta@gmail.com. I try to read all of them. Okay, let's talk about what's really going on in Alberta today, because it's just not about speeches anymore. Premier Danielle Smith gave a bold address yesterday, laying out Alberta's next moves in the face of ongoing federal overreach with the Carney government. She says Alberta is not looking for separation, but the actions coming out of various groups across Alberta right now are louder than words. Yesterday, Premier Smith outlined Alberta's expectations with the new Carney government in Ottawa, and they are. She's demanding a new Alberta Accord. She's calling for guaranteed port access for Alberta resources. Premier Smith wants federal laws like Bill C-69 and the emissions cap repealed. She's requiring Alberta's consent on export restrictions, and she's preparing a 2026 referendum based on the outcome of these discussions. But that's not what has the media circling right now in Alberta. What's really shaking the political ground in the legacy media is Smith slashing the number of signatures needed to trigger a citizen-led referendum from 600,000 to 177,000 and extending the deadline to 120 days. Now, that's no small change. That's a green light for movements like independence that's been waiting to ignite. This has the legacy media freaking out, to be honest, and we're going to see that today. I've got some clips to share with you from today's press conference where the legacy media, except the Western Standard, really pressed her on these issues. So earlier today, Premier Smith announced the Alberta Next panel, a task force to explore long-term options for Alberta's constitutional protection. Take a look.
We are also launching the Alberta Next panel to explore long-term options for economic and constitutional protections from Ottawa. And we are preparing for a 2026 referendum on key proposals that emerge from these discussions. As most Albertans know, I have repeatedly stated I do not support Alberta separating from Canada. I personally still have hope that there is a path forward for a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. So I am going to do everything within my power to negotiate a fair deal for Alberta with the new Prime Minister. And while doing so, our government will work with Albertans on various initiatives to better protect Alberta's provincial sovereignty and economy from Ottawa should those negotiations fail and the economic attacks continue.
When the Premier started taking questions, the legacy media seemed to only have one theme of questioning, and that was about the noise of independence, what that would look like and how it would affect treaty rights. One reporter challenged her directly on treaty rights, asking how the government could justify a binding referendum when the law says 50% plus one, yet Indigenous treaties are meant to be honored without compromise. This is how she answered that question.
You've said that you are committed to upholding First Nation treaties and inherent rights. This is on the sovereignty referendum question, but the Referendum Act says a majority vote is binding on your government, 50% plus one. So if that vote passes, your government would be bound to follow that referendum choice. How exactly do you plan to uphold those treaties in the event that your government's hands are tied and you need to separate Alberta from Canada? How do you uphold those treaties? What does that involve?
Well, I think there's been lots of court challenges and court decisions around First Nations, Inuit, and Métis rights, and we would honor all of those. We have treaties that have been signed and are binding. We have as well Section 35 of the Constitution, which enshrines Aboriginal rights. Any discussion that we're having, is including Alberta's expressing its own constitutional sovereignty, is about Alberta's relationship with Ottawa. We have also defined rights under our Constitution about Alberta's relationship with Ottawa and how that's supposed to work. And I have never presumed that anything that we can do is going to impact First Nations rights. In fact, I've said the opposite, that we accept it and respect the fact that they are sovereign jurisdictions in their own right. This is about trying to have Alberta's relationship with Ottawa improve.
Another reporter wanted to know, what would the actual referendum question look like?
James from the Western Standard. You mentioned in your statement that any referendum will have to respect treaty rights. We've spoken about that. What would the referendum question look like? I realize this is a long time, potentially a long time in the future, and would negotiations with First Nations have to come first before any referendum question is asked?
I don't know what the referendum question would look like, because yesterday I specifically said we would not be bringing forward as a government a question on the issue of independence. So it would be up to individuals to draft that question and go through a process with lawyers that they might consult, and then we would go and get validated through Elections Alberta, and then it would be put to the people. So I don't have any idea what the wording of that referendum question might be.
Watching it today, I think Premier Smith handled it calmly, but you could feel the tension. And these are questions without easy answers. And maybe that's the point. Look, here's the conversation I think nobody seems to be ready to have. Even if Alberta voted for independence, then what? Do we have a plan? Do we have the legal roadmap? Do we even know who's in charge? And that last one, well, it matters, because who leads an independent Alberta matters just as much whether we become independent or not. Would it be Premier Smith? Would another group try to step in? Or would the grassroots movements like the Alberta Prosperity Project try to take the reins, or any other interest group? For me personally, I think Premier Smith would have to lead it. But I know not every independence group agrees with that. I've seen that online. So we've got a potential referendum, a premier under pressure, and a population that's just waking up to how big this movement really is. So what are some Albertans saying about this? Well, I ran a poll this morning on the Holding Alberta MLAs Accountable Facebook group. It has over 20,000 members strong. And we asked, how would you grade Premier Smith's speech from yesterday? Of those who responded in the survey, over 67% gave her an A+. Another 10% gave her an A. Look, it's clear that Albertans are watching, and for many, Smith's standing up in a way few premiers ever have. But now that the heat's on, and how she handles the days ahead will define whether this is a speech or a movement. Now, before I go, for those of you who want to go deeper into this discussion about independence, mark your calendar, because on May the 12th in Calgary, the Alberta Prosperity Project is hosting a panel on independence, sovereignty, and how Alberta could forge a new path forward. I'm going to show the poster here on the screen. Take a screenshot, check the address. If you've got questions, this is the place to bring them on May the 12th. Because like I said, this isn't about politics. This is about people, and the decisions we make now shape the Alberta we leave for the next generation. Hey, if this video gave you something to think about, like, share, and comment below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Or you can email me directly, grassrootsalberta@gmail.com. And tell me what you think. Should we go to a referendum? Would you vote yes? And if so, who should lead the charge? Thanks for watching episode 5 of Unfiltered, and I'll see you on the next video.